This is an intellectual war, the worst war that humanity's ever had. What's at stake? Well, us, human beings, the human species. Human level intelligence, machine level intelligence. As that IQ gap, as they call it, as that gap seriously closes, then the species dominance debate, in other words, should humanity build, I call them intellects, that's artificial intellect. That's a godlike, massively intelligent machine. Now for some people, that would be like a religion. Human beings serving as like the stepping stone up the ladder of evolution to create these godlike creatures. If we have this horrible war that I'm predicting is coming later this century, and you're talking 21st century weapons, so I use the concept giga, that just means a billion, giga death.
When will that happen, do you think?
Within 10, that kind of time frame, 10 years.
Is there any reason the AI would keep us around? They take us out in the back and just get rid of us.
As a human, when I do this, or I go on a walk along the forest path and I kill ants, I don't give a damn. I'm so superior to them. Why would they care about us if they're just so superior to us?
Yeah.
We're just nothing to them. I'm glad I'm alive now. I don't want to see it. But now, it's looking as though it's going to happen. I will see it. I just don't see a way out. I'm being intellectually honest, and I hate to say it, and it just tears me apart, but I just don't see it as avoidable.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Professor Hugo de Garis, the artificial intelligence expert and author. You are known for your work on the use of genetic algorithms to evolve artificial neural networks that you believe would enable the creation of artificial brains which would quickly surpass human levels of intelligence. You've published over 100 academic papers on the emergence of AI and robotics and the potential implications of these technologies on society. Your groundbreaking book, The Ideological War, explores the potential consequences of a future conflict between humans and artificial intelligence that would result in billions of deaths before the end of the 21st century. You believe that there is a strong possibility that AI systems will simply eliminate the human race, something we will be powerless to stop. You have said that the coming decades will see species dominance become the major talking point on the planet, leading to assassinations of political leaders and scientists as a major war threatens the future of humanity. Professor, welcome back to London Real.
Well, thank you, Brian. I'm very grateful for you're giving me a platform. This message that an intellectual war and the worst war that humanity's ever had, for the simple reason that the stake, 20th century wars were largely between nation states. And so what was at stake? Well, the survival of a country. But this one, if there's a major war later 21st century, what's at stake? Well, us, human beings, the human species. So the stake has never been so high. So the passion level in the debate, should humanity build these godlike creatures or not, will never be so high. And you're talking 21st century weapons. So I use the concept giga, that just means a billion, giga death. Because if you ask the question, how many people died for political reasons in the 20th century? 300 million, that kind of thing. 2 world wars, ethnic cleansings, purges, and so forth. So about 300 million. Well, you only have to multiply by a small number, right? 3 to get it over 1 billion. So if we have this horrible war that I'm predicting is coming, later this century, then it's highly likely it'll be over the 1 billion mark. And that is utterly depressing. I get depressed. I'm glad I'm alive now, right? So, and the tragic thing about it is, I've been thinking about this on and off for decades, literally.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. Last time you asked me, how can we avoid this situation? And like just literally yesterday, I was talking to the director of the Centre of the Future of Intelligence, CFI, in Cambridge University. He asked me the same question. Didn't have an answer. I just don't see an obvious way out. I just see this, as artificial intelligence keeps increasing, this is almost my logo, right? Human level intelligence, machine level intelligence. As that IQ gap, as they call it, as that gap seriously closes, then the species dominance debate, in other words, should humanity build, I call them artellects, that's artificial intellect, and that's a godlike, massivly intelligent machine. Now, for some people, that would be like a religion. Human beings serving as like the stepping stone up the ladder of evolution to create these godlike creatures. A religion. And on the other hand, well, if I were a Terran, then I'm using technical terms here. So I see humanity in the next few decades or so. I see humanity splitting at least 2, maybe 3 major ways. So I need to introduce a few labels here. So those people in favor of building these godlike creatures, I call them Cosmists. That's Cosmists, yeah. Based on the word cosmos, because that's their perspective, right? There's a whole universe out there. So, and the other group opposed, bitterly opposed, because there's so much at stake, the very survival of the human species, call them Terrans, as in terra, like terra firma, the earth, because that's their perspective, looking inward. And there's a third group, represented a bit physically like this. They want to do this. They want to add components to their own brains and become artelect gods themselves,
right.
Transitioning away from being human to an artelect.
Like a cyborg or a
cyborg.
transhuman
Exactly.
or a cyborg?
A cyborg,
right.
a cybernetic organism, right. Part machine, part human. And so they're the 3 major groups that I see. Now, as that IQ gap closes, the species dominance debate inevitably will heat up, and it's doing that right now.
Yes.
It's very topical now.
Yes.
But as that gap seriously starts closing, then everyone will be wondering about, are we, the human species, are we going to allow these machines to become smarter than us? Isn't that dangerous?
Yeah.
And if they become a lot smarter than us, isn't that extremely dangerous? So I'm predicting the so-called Terran politicians. Put yourself in the shoes of a Terran politician, maybe even at a global level, planetary level, and ask yourself, what risk would you allow that these machines might, for whatever reason, decide to get rid of the human species, like seeing the human species as a pest? What risk would be tolerable? 1 in a million? 1 in a billion? I think given that so much is at stake, like the survival of the human species, I think these Terran politicians, the answer to that question would be 0.
Right.
0. Because there's too much at stake.
Right.
But if you're a Terran politician, and on the other hand, you've got these Cosmist guys who passionately are pushing for the creation of these godlike creatures. Right. There's a whole universe out there.
Former colleagues of yours building these things.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm very ambivalent about this. Like I have at home, I have these big screens, like 8K, and I'll watch like universe. Lots. Each little pinprick of white is a whole galaxy, right? So the deep field kind of photos, and I get this kind of space consciousness, cosmic consciousness, right. And I think, oh my God, there's a whole universe out there. This is the big picture, the truly big picture. This is the destiny of the human species. We've got to get out there. And then you start looking at these fabulous numbers like, what's the diameter of the observable universe? And then the answer is about 93 billion light years. How many galaxies in that huge volume? 2 trillion.
Wow.
And then you think, well, our solar system, what are we, 4.6 billion years old? That's exactly a third of the age of the universe, which is 13.8. 3 times 4.6, 13.8. So most of the stars and galaxies out there are billions of years older than we are. And nearly all of these stars have planets, maybe not a tenth of them. Water is liquid, blah, blah, blah. So very likely the biological type creatures who are intelligent, conscious, blah, blah, have come into being and maybe have moved on the way humanity's starting to do, moving away from biological to artillectual, the intellect. So maybe this transition has happened many, many times. But I really believe this issue, should humanity build intellects, will absolutely dominate our global politics this century. Like the way 19th and 20th century, what was the philosophical question that dominated then? Well, I'd say, who should own capital? The communist capitalist dichotomy.
Yeah.
So
and this will be all about who builds the artilects or who doesn't. Now, what's your you? Are you a Terran or a Cosmist? You spent decades at the highest levels of artificial intelligence. You worked with Ben Goertzel in China. You guys were in this documentary, Singularity or Bust. You know all of these scientists. First of all, are the AI scientists predominantly Cosmists who want to build these godlike creatures? And are you as well, or do you change your mind every day?
Depends what day it is. I mean, I was talking about the big screens and this cosmic consciousness. And when I watch or read cosmology and so on, because I'm a math, physics, computing sort of guy, then that this vision, this cosmic vision, is very strong. It's a very powerful ideology. We humanity, we could build gods. So that's sort of like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Right.
And other times I'll be sitting in the park. Now I'm into my 4th quarter century of life. I'm old, right? I'm 76 now. So I'll sit in the park and I'm watching these gorgeous little 2-year-olds, and thinking, and my grandpa Jesus going thump, 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 thump. And then I'll have this horrible thought. If there's an intellect war and it's going to kill billions of people, 21st century weapons, the worst war humanity's ever known, because the stake has never been so high, right. then all these gorgeous little...
Yeah.
And then I'm Terran, so I'm torn. And it's not just me. Like, I've been talking about this for ages, and often I'll ask the audience that I'm talking to vote. And initially, typically, and I keep it simple, no real complication. I'd ask, look, are you in your heart, are you more Terran or Cosmist? Do you want to build these godlike creatures, or do you want them banned? So keep it simple, dichotomy. And typically the answer would be like 40-60, 60-40, 50-50, and so on. And then I had the thought, probably that's just because the issue is so new, people don't really have an opinion about it yet. Right. So they're just voting randomly. So of course you're getting more or less 50-50. But then after a while, people would come up to me and say, "Oh, Hugo, or Professor de Garis, I feel," the person who came up to me, "I feel so torn about this. On the one hand, the whole universe, it's magnificent, etc. But on the other hand, the whole concept of giga-death and an intellect war, that is horrible." Yeah. So I'm very ambivalent about this. In some ways, I feel if humanity does not build these godlike creatures, I see that as a cosmic tragedy.
Right, because we won't go into space. without building these
we're
things.
stuck. We're stuck
here.
And from a Cosmist viewpoint, I mean, you're looking at human beings, and you're thinking these pathetic little human beings snuffed out in 80 years in a universe that's billions of years old, right? There's real passion behind the Cosmist viewpoint. And on the other hand, of course, I mean, World War II was horrific. What, 50 to 100 million people killed? That was the most horrible tragedy in the 20th century. But that will be chicken feed in comparison to this really big one, if it comes to that.
Right.
And if you're a Terran, you're going to look upon a Cosmist as a monster.
Right.
Because what's this Cosmist prepared to do? He's prepared to risk that the whole human species gets wiped out because of the creation of his obsession, building these godlike creatures.
Just because he's obsessed to build a better mousetrap, and that's it. And now he's willing to kill all of us.
The whole vision, right?
Yeah.
So are you going to freeze humanity at our current pathetic, very finite mortal state? 80 years? That's nothing. So there's passions both ways, and as the issue becomes more and more current with people, I just see the passions rising and rising. And this talking about before, human level intelligence, machine level intelligence. As that IQ gap closes, then the passion levels will really come out. Then you'll start seeing as in your introduction, you'll start seeing the assassinations, the sabotages, the murders of CEOs of brain building companies and so forth.
When will that happen, do you think?
Well,
in terms of years from today, because when we spoke before, I think you had said, Brian, I thought I was going to die before I saw this happen. And then when the ChatGPT moment happened, I think in December of last year, you said, oh my gosh, I might live to see it.
Yeah. So I'm wondering when ChatGPT 5 will come out. I'm now
Sam Altman
thinking.
Posts the other day on Reddit, AGI achieved internally is what he wrote on OpenAI, and then he wrote back later, I was just joking. But he wrote AGI.
Was he joking?
Exactly. And then later that day, they came out with a new valuation of a company of $90 billion in a fundraise. So, I mean, that's not a joke anymore, is it? I mean, serious stuff. But when you saw ChatGPT, in your mind, how quickly was your timeline advanced forward?
It halved.
Halved?
It halved,
Okay.
Like, when you consider the fact that ChatGPT 4 can write better essays than 90% of the population, that's impressive. Yeah. I mean, that's what really hit me. Oh my God.
Probably 99 now. I mean, it can pass, legal, medical boards, bar exams. It can do more than 99 plus percent, probably code better than most coders.
So to answer your question, I see the debate really heating up within 10, that kind of time frame, 10 years.
10 years.
The first explicit, obvious major crime, in this context, 10, 20, I guess. Okay. In other words, well within my lifetime.
Okay.
So if father got to 100, I'm hoping to do the same. So
could it come sooner? When do you think?
It could. Yes, it could.
When do you think we'll see human level intelligence in artificial intelligence? When do you think?
Well, if GPT-5 is out, it must be close.
Right.
But in a sense, it's still an idiot savant.
Right.
I mean, this is where I'm hoping. Well, Ben's approach, sort of combining the best features of ChatGPT with his logical memory inference kind of approach.
Neural symbolic AI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he believes he has a better shot at AGI, and he believes that
it's his term, by the way.
Right.
Ben invented that term.
Coined that term 20-some years ago, right?
Yeah, I remember Ben and I were friends for about 20 odd years or so. And I remember Ben saying, Ben, I need a term too. And he came up with this. So I'm thinking of AGI, artificial general intelligence. And Hugo, what do you think about that? And I said, that sounds pretty good.
Right.
So,
and that's
human level. Now it's out there. Everyone uses it.
Yeah. I think Sam Altman of OpenAI called it like a median human. That's what he called it. Kind of like an average human intelligence. But like you said, they have to do almost everything. So that means, okay, maybe it can pass the medical board, but you can't. But it can't, it can't bake a cake. or it can't make a logical decision, or it can't drive a car, which it can't do right now. So it could be a few years out. They always said singularity 2030. What do you think about those numbers? Ben seems to think it could happen earlier, even as early as 3 years.
I remember a lot of discussion with Ben on the issue. Well, as I look at it, there are two very broad approaches to generating AI. One is, I just simply called the engineering approach. In other words, you do whatever you like that you think will get there. And the other approach, sort of common sense, is copy the brain. Just simulate the brain as closely as you can, increasing knowledge in neuroscience, and then neuroscience gets transported into neuroengineering, and those two subjects virtually wed, and then these theorists in neuroscience test their ideas in machines, actual machines, artificial brain type machines. Now that was my preference, and Ben was his engineering approach, and we were debating which of those two would probably win out. And it's still not clear.
Right.
But I'd say if I had to bet, with GPT-4, that's the engineering approach, and it's pretty impressive.
Right. Most people were surprised by how impressive that deep neural net large language model could be, with obviously the human inputs and the human corrections. I mean, what amazes me is I've spoken to a lot of the top people in AI, from you to Dr. Ben Goertzel to Max Tegmark to Peter Diamandis, the list goes on, and almost everyone was surprised at how quickly this happened.
Yeah.
And that fascinates me.
Because we don't really understand what's going on. I mean, a major brain, oh God, what's his name? He's British. I can't remember.
Not Jeffrey Hinton, no.
No.
We don't really know what's going on in these black boxes, right? We still don't even understand how they're doing it, right? They just output that answer, but we don't know how they get it, even now. And it still is prone to hallucinating and making things up.
It's still a bit of a idiot savant.
Right.
It's basically just predicting what's the likelihood, what are the odds of the next word in a string of words.
Right.
And hence consistency and logical reasonableness and so on is still not quite there. But that'll come.
So I had a guest on the show named Mo Gaudet, who was working at
Scary
Google.
Smart.
Yeah, he wrote a book called Scary Smart. He actually was working at Google X, which is like the top secret moonshot area, and he was in the AI division. And he quit in 2017, I believe, when he saw an AI system start to be able to pick up children's toys and identify them. And he tells a story where he walked by this arm that for the first month couldn't even pick up the toy, and then it got to a point where it could pick up any toy and identify it, all through machine learning repetition. And I think he quit right after that because he was terrified, because he knew it was inevitable now. It was inevitable that these machines will become smarter than us, and then 1,000 times smarter than us, and there was no way of stopping this. So he actually wrote a book on happiness, and that's when I first met him. It's called Solve for Happy. And then later, he wrote Scary Smart. And Mo quotes you in that book, and he watched our first interview. He's a big fan, but you also terrify him, I think, with the Ideological war, because I think he believes that what you are mapping out has a very high likelihood.
Yeah, that's what I find so depressing. I depress myself.
Right. But he believes it's inevitable, like you cannot turn this back.
Yeah, exactly.
And you now talk about Terrans maybe trying to stop it, but my question for you, Professor, is, can it be stopped? Or are the Terrans really just fighting an unwinnable war?
If the Terrans are really serious and really deadly, and they just literally exterminate virtually every Cosmist, if you even just speak a word of pro-Cosmist, and bam, you're dead. That might work, but for how long? The old dream, I think, would just keep coming back. So,
and there's open source models now, like the Meta Llama model has been open sourced and now iterated on laptops, and you can now run a version of ChatGPT-4 on not connected to the internet on an iPad. So can you really put the genie back in the bottle, or is it too late now? It must be too late, because somebody on a guerrilla scale out there in a basement, even if you shot most people dead, could continue to develop this technology, couldn't it?
My feeling, and it's just a feeling, my feeling is that the real Cosmists, the people, haven't really yet come out of the woodwork and forcefully presented their case. I think that's yet to happen. I mean, most people, I think, are still largely at an unconscious level, still effectively Terrans. You know, we can't allow this. We can't allow the machines to become smarter than us, and it's too dangerous.
Right.
They're effectively Terrans. But I've yet to hear somebody who's an explicit, upfront Cosmist saying, "No, we've got to go for the stars."
Right.
There are billions of creatures out there way beyond us, and blah blah blah. So
now you say the Cosmists say we need to go to the stars, but don't the Cosmists understand that journey will be taken without us, probably with artificial intelligence that has eliminated us?
Yeah, I do.
But it's still worth it. The Cosmists, I'm asking you, do the Cosmists believe that it's still worth doing, even if the human species is sacrificed, in order to catapult intelligence out into the universe?
Well, that would definitely be a Cosmist viewpoint, and part of me has that view.
Right.
I mean, one of the really cynical questions to ask is, what is one intellect worth in terms of human lives? I mean, it's a diabolical question, but someone's going to have to answer it.
What's the answer? All of humanity? And why do you want to get out to the cosmos? Why? You just think it's just, you see a mountain and it has to be climbed. That's what it is, right?
Well, I mean, in the book, my book, I present like 6 or so major arguments that the Cosmists, I think, will use, and another 6 that the Terrans use. Like the big one for the Cosmists is, the big picture argument. 2 trillion galaxies, right? 3 times older than ours, and this sort of thing. And of course, the biggest one, the other side from the Terrans, is top priority to Terrans is the survival of the human species, and they will stop at nothing. They will go to war over this issue. And as that gap keeps closing, the debate will heat up and up. I suspect now, with ChatGPT, I think the first real example of terrorism, murder, assassination of CEO, brain-building companies, and so forth. Like, did you see them? I don't know I think I asked you last time. Did you see the movie Transcendence?
Oh no, you asked me, and I haven't watched it yet. No,
because I think the scenario in that movie is that there are vigilante groups who are doing just that. They're assassinating CEOs of brain builder companies and so forth. So my guess, and it's just a guess, 10 years? Within 10 years we'll see that?
I think it'll be sooner.
Maybe.
It's 23 now. Yeah. I mean, if by 2030, we're going to have human level AGI before then. Mm. I mean, with the amount of money going into this industry, billions and billions.
Yep. What's your feeling when? It's so important. What's your gut feeling? When will the first political parties on these issues be established? And
by that, you're talking about like a G7 country or a G20 country talking about that, right?
Well, it's getting to that. I mean, the director of the CFI in Cambridge University, he spent a decade of his life in the Foreign Office. So he has political connections. So,
well, the Transhumanist Party has been around for a while. I actually interviewed Zoltan Isvan back on my show when he was running in 2016. Which they have their own thoughts of that future. But look, this issue is going to be part of the Democratic and Republican platform fairly soon. Maybe not this year, but you already see the Republicans in America positioning themselves towards no electric cars. No this, no CBDC, CBDCs, no this, no that, which is these controlling factors. And so the Democrats, by definition, they're going to have to be pro those things because every issue now is weaponized. And so whether they want it or not, they'll probably find that, just like they grab onto the transgender system more than anything, because I think it's a political weapon. So I haven't played this out as much as you, but I would say, first of all, you'll have those parties on those lines, and then they'll splinter into bigger groups. And as we see the incidents happen, as we see 1,000 humans dead because of an AI mistake, as we see 100,000 Uber drivers laid off because of an AI development, or manufacturing, when we see those where real things happen, I think you told me this, then you're going to see.
I see, for example, the creation of the UBI, Universal Basic Income, as inevitable.
Right.
Because
which you talked about a long time ago in the Art-elect War, before anybody was talking about UBI, right?
Yeah, I don't think I used the term.
Right. But
anyway, almost common sense is, as the threshold human level intelligence needed to be employable, it gets higher and higher because the machines are getting smarter and smarter, and they're taking more and more of the work. Then once that human high IQ employability threshold, as it gets quite advanced, then you're going to have to give people income, or otherwise there'll be a riot, there'll be a revolution.
Yeah.
Inevitable.
And this is Sam Altman, who runs OpenAI, has said, oh yeah, let's just give UBI to everybody.
Yeah.
And curiously, he also has another company called WorldCoin, which is now busy scanning the eyeballs of everybody on the planet in order to prove your uniqueness, or your identity, and then you can start getting your UBI. I think this is the worst concept ever created, UBI, because it ultimately means control of the people. Because if they're writing the check, they'll ultimately take everything that you're doing. So, but you're right. As more people come employed, I mean, I make the case that even if you own property in London, like, do you really want to own property in London in 5 years? Because maybe 20% of the population isn't employed, and you have food shortages and riots, and no one's going to want to be here.
I'm just wondering how many years is it going to take before the politicians seriously start taking this issue seriously.
Yeah. Well, I ran for mayor of London, so politicians care about two things: money and votes.
Of course.
So, and usually money for their own campaign, and then when they're in office, money to advance their issue or maybe for their pockets. And so as soon as they see votes in the issue, they will grab onto it. And
so I'm thinking just a few years.
I think, a few years. And the way it's developing exponentially, we haven't seen much this year, but we know it's happening. I'd say the average member of the public out there is walking around completely blind without a cane. They're also in denial, and they don't want to see this, and so they're not seeing it.
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm so grateful to you, because you're providing the platform. You're the one kicking people.
It's important to talk about this. Now, Elon Musk is an interesting scenario because he originally funded OpenAI.
Yeah.
And the reason he funded
I've just read his very tome biography.
Oh, right, biography, right. And so rumor has it is that he was at a party with Larry Page of Google, and they got into an argument about AI, and Larry Page accused Elon of being, I think he called it a humanist, because Elon was saying, wait a second, you can't just develop AI because it might kill all the humans. And they actually thought his comment was preposterous, because they thought, what are you talking about? We need to develop this technology. And he was ridiculed for being on Team Human. And he said he left that party and then got a group of people together and funded OpenAI. Of course, later he complained because it was neither open source nor nonprofit, and he's right, because it's not. It's closed source and now for-profit, run by Microsoft, pretty much. So is Elon Musk the original Terran? That's my question for you. And is he really a Terran? Because meanwhile, he's developing his own AI project in the background.
Well, in my book, I labeled, just my own view, the first Terran in historical terms was the Unabomber.
Right.
Ted Kaczynski.
Let's talk about Ted Kaczynski. So he was the Unabomber. He lived in a shack in Montana, Wyoming, Minnesota. And he sent bombs. He was actually a Harvard graduate, dropout. Professor, was he?
I think, math professor. He's brilliant.
Right, brilliant. And then he lived in a no plumbing, no electricity shack.
Really off the grid.
And he sent bombs to various organizations.
Well, Unabomber, so universities and airlines and so on. Yeah.
And he did a lot of damage.
This may sound crazy, but I see the Terrans, once they really politically unify themselves, they'll put up a statue to their god.
Because that was his thesis. His thesis was
it's too dangerous. Yeah,
AI or just technology is going to ruin.
It's more general. But
just technology. Okay, so he's the original Terran.
Well,
then
my view.
So did Elon come next? Do you believe Elon's a Terran?
Yeah.
Believe that story?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say most people are.
Terrans, but Larry Page is a cosmist. Sam Altman's a cosmist.
There's a gradation, right? He's sort of more that way. I mean, I'm in the middle. Okay. I'm strongly Cosmist and strongly Terran. So,
but now you've worked with, like I said, the top AI scientists in the world. And so someone like Ben Goertzel, and I love Ben, and he's been on the show many times, and I love what he's doing, and we're even probably investing in one of his companies.
Right.
And Ben spent his whole life in this industry, as did you. Mm-hmm. And if you grow up as a kid dreaming of this, and then you work your whole life and on something that, let's be honest, up until recently, most of the scientific community didn't really look favorably upon AI people because it was never going to happen. And now it's happening. Your childhood dream that you thought might never happen is now literally happening, and you might actually see the creation of something that you dreamed of. How can you not work on that project, even if you know it could potentially kill your children?
Well, there's the dichotomy.
Right.
It just tears at me. Like, I was saying before, just looking at these cute little 2-year-olds in the park, and
we can't help ourselves.
My heart just goes.
Right. Because as humans, we can't help ourselves. We're going to build it anyways.
Oh, yeah, well, that's another, the six major arguments of the Cosmists. One of them is just that.
Right.
It's in our DNA. Climb the next hill.
Right.
We're curiosity driven. We almost don't have no choice. The big picture. That's one of it's a kind of religion, a scientist's religion.
Right.
And then there are the two major momentum arguments, like the economic momentum, will be enormous because we're talking, household robots, extremely useful.
Yeah.
Your people will spend more money for their, truly useful household robot than they will for their car. You're talking a major industry. Right. So how are you going to stop that? And of course, the bigger one, the military momentum, because Westerners, we all hate China. Over 1,000 Lao Gai, slave labor camps, the equivalent of Stalin's gulags. Lao Gai, gulag, same thing.
Right.
Live organ harvesting.
This is happening in China.
Oh.
You lived in China for how many years?
12 years. Yeah. I was hoping to see China democratize. And when China and Russia democratize, hopefully sooner or later, we'll live in a different world.
Okay.
And then there's about 130 odd democracies today. So if the big ones also democratize, then I think I call it the bully model can take over. The big guys can just tell the little guys, you democratize, or we're going to put a ring around your economy and you're going to die.
You think China will ever democratize?
Well, I read one time.
It's now a surveillance state. That technology.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
I mean, there's a point where you can't dial that technology back. I mean, Orwell 84, it's like the technology is so ubiquitous. How do you turn it off?
Well, people just get fed up, I guess. But I remember reading just before Tiananmen, 89, there was a survey done, and I think about 60 odd or more % of Beijingers, Beijing citizens, wanted to live in a democracy. So, it's there, the students pushing for it, of course, until they got trampled, literally. So,
you were there for 12 years, and then I think
nothing. It didn't happen. They didn't democratize.
Right.
But they did grow. My God, they grew.
And so, what's happening in China now? Labor camps, organ transplants, and AI.
Have you heard of what's his name? He's an American. He's a genius, I think. I mean, he knows history, politics. What's his name? Peter Zeihan. Zeihan. I don't know if you heard the name.
Yeah.
So he's saying that there's some demographic catastrophe occurring in China, and the whole string of reasons that he's just saying China's now a basket case. I hope so.
Do you think they will rival the West when it comes to artificial intelligence development?
I'm somewhat skeptical. I mean, I know that Xi Jinping, the president of China, he's made that one of his major national platforms. They're going to pour money into that particular area so that they can dominate it. But I'm cynical in the sense that until China democratizes and becomes in their minds, their mentality, like the Taiwanese. So imagine a giant Taiwan.
Ooh, scary.
Well, yeah, but the Taiwanese, they're highly creative, they're happy.
They're capitalists, that's why.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
So
we're talking about capitalism more than democracy, aren't we?
Well, So if
innovation
China
is rewarded.
If China's truly democratic and free, and they have this fabulous potential. They're 1.3 or so billion people, and they're smart. Chinese are smarter than us. Their average IQ is 105. Ours is 100. So they're smarter than us. Huge population. So once they finally democratize and legalize and civilize and all that, then woo, off they go. I mean, I was hoping to see that when I was living there, but it's just a little bit too soon. And now China's going down.
Last time you were on the show, you talked about the timeline of China and how China looks at the last 100 years as just a blip.
Oh yeah, the glitch, the historical glitch.
Can you explain what you meant by that?
Okay. Well, Chinese history, 5,000 years? And if you look at world economic history, China and India were sort of like the dominant economies for millennia, especially China, for millennia. And so the what do they call it? The century of indignation or something, when Europe was at its power maximum and just carved up China. So they hated that. And that was only for 2 centuries. So in a sense, the Chinese are roaring, well, until Xi Jinping came back to power, the new emperor, when you're roaring back, economy. Like I can remember one year living in China, I literally saw the number of cars on the road in 1 year double. In 1 year.
Double.
I mean, I was astounded. So that was, when was I living there? I left in 2018. Good time to get out. Okay. And now China's just a cot case. So.
But just because Xi is controlling it doesn't mean it's not going to continue to grow and be massively productive, right?
Well, I'm somewhat influenced by Peter Zayan. He's claiming that he's such a power hungry guy that people are so afraid of him. You can't present bad news to him, otherwise. So no one does. So he's sort of on his own, doesn't really know what to do, and everything's just a perfect storm of negative influences, especially demographic. China's population is going to crash soon.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year is going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide
to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm going to tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone, also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline.
I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up.
If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today. Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you going to do? What's the choice that you're going to make?